DIYers, what's going on? Mike Boards with the Mike Boards channel. Thank you for watching. Hey, we're talking jet skis today, and in today's video, the proper and safe way to replace your spark plugs. Let's get started. All right, DIYers at the workstation now, and yes, Mom and Dad's jet ski in-house for the winter. DIY repair videos ahead. And let's hop on the other side to the workbench. Making our way around the jet ski, we also custom made our very own YouTube channel and brand logo. Skateboards, mount them on the wall. A lot going on here. Rebuilt an Alpha 1 Gen 1 Mercruiser outdrive and more. And here's what I always recommend. Always reference your exact serial number service manual to ensure you're doing everything the proper way. And here is our electrical system. You can see the battery and all that's involved. And on top, there are the 2 spark plugs and wires. And our exact replacement OEM spark plug numbers are the NGKs, and you see the numbers below that. And here the plugs are out of the box, and reference the part number on the plug itself to ensure that you've got the exact replacement plug that matches your part number on your box. Those are nice. On the very bottom, there is the little electrode, and the gap between the top hook here, or the electrode and the connector lead, must be properly gapped. And what I mean by that is there must be the exact space in between the igniter and the lead, or terminal, set forth by the manufacturers and the engineering that built the engine that these plugs go into. And we're going to show you how to do that. If you don't do that, engine performance will degrade. Taking a step back, we are now on port side of the jet ski, and we are going to carefully remove our seats. And your latches may be in a different spot than mine, but hey, in the event that your latches are making aggressive screeching noises, as you can see, mine are not, we properly lubricated our latches, and that will alleviate premature failure of the latch itself. Scrolling above right now is a link to a video that shows you how to properly lubricate your latch with lithium grease. Again, if your latches are stiff and screeching, well, if you do not lubricate them, they're going to break sooner or later, and that's not what you want. However, if your latch does break, down below in the comment section as well as the description section will be a link on how to replace that. Let's go and remove our seats. And we did just that. Again, both aft and forward seats are removed. The very next step, extremely important, DIYers, cut all electrical power to the jet ski. And in our case, our battery is removed, but in your case, it's probably still installed. And I recommend disconnecting the black negative cable from your battery. Some people actually recommend disconnecting the positive red cable from your battery as well. Making our way port side, I am going to remove the plastic insert here. I now have the camera positioned down inside the hull, ratchet and socket, 5/8 size deep socket, and do your best not to harm any additional parts as you remove your plugs. So position your ratchet properly, so as when you turn it to loosen up the plug, you're not hitting any additional parts. And turning it counterclockwise, there we go. That was pretty loose, actually. I can remove it by hand. And there is the old plug. It's not in that bad of condition, but there's a little bit of oil on the thread, but the electrode doesn't look too bad. However, new plugs will definitely be better. I'm now coming in from the aft portion of that seat brace, and to remove the second plug, again carefully without damaging anything, counterclockwise. There it goes. And once you loosen it up, you can spend about 10 seconds and unscrew it by hand. Go slow. Do not drop the plug inside the hull. It will sneak underneath the engine, and you may never get it out. And let's take a look at the second or rear plug in much worse condition. That electrode is extremely corroded and lead. Not good. And it doesn't even look like the proper gap. Look at that. Let's head back to the workbench. Back to the workbench. Brand new plugs on top and old plugs I just removed. Again, the right plug, check that out. That is extremely gunked up and corroded. And again, the gap doesn't even look like the proper 0.43 gap. Now the plug on the left-hand side, which was our forward plug, it's a lot cleaner than the aft one. And it still kind of looks properly gapped. and the electrode has a little bit more life on it. However, the rear plug, you can see the electrode looks more burned down. And DIYers, that can definitely cause degraded engine performance or power loss when you're out on the water. Alright DIYers, I've made my way to our backup workbench because our primary workbench, as you can see, is pretty full of stuff, and I wanted to give you a clear look at what we're doing without any distractions, which include additional parts or paperwork. So again, clean work surface in front of us, and the very first thing I'm going to introduce to you is called a gapper, and you can pick these up at your local hardware store or AutoZone, as you can see. In addition, I will post a link down below in the comments section as well as the description section on where to purchase one of these. And you can see all these little numbers and marks all around the actual gapper. And then this little pre-cut hole is for your keychain, so you can always have it readily accessible on your keys. However, let's take a look at the beginning portion of the tool itself. Notice how it is extremely thin, and that is where you are going to insert the plug. And again, by following your exact serial number service manual, whether you're working on a jet ski, a boat, or a car, or a truck, or a motorcycle, or whatever, you want to make sure you follow that manual to ensure that you're gapping your plugs to proper specs. And as this gapper makes its way to larger numbers on the face, you will notice that this part right here thickens. Check that out. See that? Again, very small and thin at the entry level or position, and as you turn the gapper, the numbers get higher and the thickness of the tool gets higher. Check that out. Pretty neat, huh? What we will do next is grab the spark plug, and I am going to show you how to properly gap your plug. And when referencing our exact serial number service manual for the jet ski, the manual states to gap our plugs at 0.43 inches. And I will give you a close-up view of that. And you can see this is the inches side and 0.43. So I'm going to insert the plug at the very beginning and thin portion of the tool, and I'm going to carefully shift the plug up until I reach 4.3. So there's the 040, which is the large line right there. And then you've got 1, 2, 3. So that is where I will end the gap and then immediately pull the plug off of the tool. Now to the plug, again, as we saw on the primary workbench, you've got the electrode and the terminal. And when the engine is running, there is a constant spark or electrical connection between this electrode right here and the looped or hooked terminal. And you can see that gap. So without further ado, again, I've got the gapper tool, I've got the plug, I'm going to position it just like that, and I'm going to carefully shift the plug, and right about there is where I get some tension and resistance, which is good because the gap is not overly open, because at that point, if it was, I would have to ever so carefully bend that terminal back down toward the electrode. And you will need to use a little bit of friendly pressure and go very slow as you work this up the tool, because the last thing you want to do is overshoot it. And I'm carefully moving it. Again, it's got tension, and I'm at 0.039-ish, just shy of 0.04. Again, I've got to take it all the way to the 0.43 for our specific serial number. And again, just some friendly pressure and work it to 0.43. I'm going to position the center of the terminal exactly at the 0.043 mark. And just a little bit more, and I think I'm right on. Check that out. 0.43 as shown here. And from here, a little bit of tension to pull the plug off as such. And now that gap is exactly set to the manufacturer's specifications. Again, in between the terminal and the electrode. And onto the second plug. Again, I will start at the very entry thin portion and slowly make my way up to the 0.43. And I think I'm spot on right there. Check that out. Again, tension when you pull the plug off the gapper, and that completes the proper steps for gapping your spark plugs. Here we are back to the primary workbench, and again, the spark plugs are properly gapped and ready to be installed inside the jet ski. And a quick reposition of the camera, I grabbed some dielectric grease, and we are going to apply the grease right there. And not on this portion, because that is what assists in the electrical current and connection. We are going to apply it to the very top porcelain white section here. And as the boot is reinstalled onto the plug, this whole section inside the boot that wraps around the plug will not get stuck in place over time, making it extremely difficult to pull the boot off for later spark plug and wire maintenance and replacement. And I am doing just a tiny bit. Do not overdo this, DIYers. I must say, in the event that you apply too much dielectric grease on your spark plugs, well, that can actually work to your disadvantage because it can interfere with the electrical connection. Again, I am applying it just to the top portion of the white section, feeding off the electrical lead of the plug. Not a lot, that's it. I'll do the same for the second plug. Again, just a little bit, as shown here. Alright, DIYers, back inside the jet ski hull, and here is the forward spark plug chamber, and there is the rear one behind this portion here. And what I'm going to do next is carefully clean the insert or thread of the spark plug chambers. And I want to do my best to get as much of this gunk out of that area without dropping it inside the engine. You don't want any debris falling inside your engine. So again, clean it up and carefully pull the paper towel out in a way where it comes out on the towel rather than falling in the engine. And I'll do the same for the rear spark plug chamber and thread. After you clean those, carefully lower your plug down inside the chamber, and without cross threading the plug into the lower thread of the block, carefully and slowly with precision turn the plug clockwise until the thread catches. Again, do not cross thread this inside your engine block. That would not be good. It should go in extremely easily. And if it doesn't, go ahead and stop and counterclockwise turn it and pull the plug out, reset the thread, and do it again. Again, as you can see, it is going in extremely easy. In addition, as I screw this plug in, I'm not going to touch the top porcelain portion of the plug because that is where I applied that dielectric grease. And I will hand tighten this all the way down. And once you can no longer tighten it by hand, go ahead and revert back to your ratchet and socket. And another extremely important step, do not over tighten your plug inside the engine. You want it snug, but again, do not over tighten it. We will now insert the aft or rear plug. Again, do not drop your plug and do not cross thread your plug inside the engine. Look how easily that plug is hand turning. Back to the ratchet and socket. From here, I will install the spark plug wires and boots back onto the plugs, and the dielectric grease should still be applied to the top porcelain point or white section of the plug. And as I slide this boot on, that dielectric grease will lubricate the inner boot, making it easier to pull the boot off at a later date. Push down until you feel that compression click. There we go. Now to the forward plug. Again, this is a longer wire. And a quick double check that the boots are properly secured on the plugs. Taking a step back, I want to give you a close-up view of the rear portion. There are the plug and boots and the wires that feed again all the way back to your electrical box. In our case, that is what ours looks like and is positioned inside our hull. In addition, DIYers, in the event that you are interested in replacing your spark plug wires and boots on top of also replacing your plugs, definitely check out the link scrolling above. We will show you the full step-by-step procedures on replacing your plugs and your spark plug wires. And Most people replace their plugs once every year prior to beginning the season. However, believe it or not, most people don't replace their plug wires every year. They wait for about 3 to 5 years because those spark plug wires can be expensive. In our case, each wire alone was $100. So if you got more than 2, which we only have, you might be in it for $400 if you have 4 spark plugs. However, again, we have 2 and ours only costed $200. From here, re-secure your cables to your battery, and we are going to put the storage portion back in, put our seats back on, and wrap the video up. And there it is, DIY. Our seats are re-secured, and before wrapping the video up, I do want to come to the back of the jet ski. Our next project, check this out. This is the little footstep that you put your foot on inside the water, and you grab a hold up here and pull yourself up onto the ski. Well, we've never replaced this, believe it or not. That's probably the original little pad, and as you can see, it is begging for replacement. Check that out. And here is our replacement, OEM, as you see here. Down below in the comment section as well as description section, we will post a link on how to replace that as well. Also down below are video links replacing the start-stop push button and the internal push button and wiring that feed all the way down through your handlebar and further downstream. And in the event that your little spring-loaded latch here breaks, we got you covered. That's also down below. DIYers, as always, we hope this helps. Do us a favor, below the video, you will see that thumbs up icon. Click on that, like the video, subscribe to the channel. Definitely ring your YouTube bell. That would be very helpful to us. We'd really appreciate it. Thanks again for watching.